Fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate Push Talk today. We got the topic today for Push Talk Radio is gun control. I'm asking you a couple of questions from your perspective, and just give me a brief answer. We'll go on to the next question.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I'll do what I can.
Yeah, do
Keep
what you
it
can.
brief.
Do you feel like the gun control is getting out of hand? Do you feel like it's too easy for society to get a hold to these weapons that the government can't compete with?
Meaning that, well,
My question is, like, you got a lot of young cats or younger people, not civilians, let's say, walking around with AKs and Uzis and ARs, and do you think that's get out of control? Because some people may ask, why do you need an AR-15 in the trunk of your car? Why do you need an AK? Why do you need an Uzi?
okay. The PC answer is outside of military, because it is a military piece of equipment, it should definitely remain that. But I also understand that you have various organizations that use it as far as protection when it comes to our society, the police and whatnot. But that only came because they had to combat what the negative side of the coin was dealing with, whether it was AKs and Uzis and AR-15s and whatnot, automatic weapons, and they had to be able to compete for the streets, basically.
Correct.
Now, being able to obtain one of those type of weapons, I think it's not easy to do. But you have gun shows where you can pretty much purchase anything.
Correct.
And so, are the restrictions should the gun shows be more? Should it be a time frame restriction, as if you were purchasing from a store versus a pop-up shop, if you will, for weapons? Yes, that probably would curb a lot of weapons getting on the streets that shouldn't be in the wrong hands. You have, I think that would help. But because you're only talking a weekend show, then you have people going in there with thousands of dollars trying to purchase not just one, but multiple handguns, multiple rifles, automatic weapons at any one time. So I think yes, it should be more restrictive, but not so much so to the point where you can't purchase. It just takes time for you to be able to receive it. All that information needs to be on, when you do the background check and.
Okay, that's my next question. My next question is, when they say background check, how thoroughly do they check backgrounds? Because I know for a fact, I know people personally who's mentally not stable to even own a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And they pass the background check at a gun show like it ain't nothing. So I think ideally the gun show, this is my perspective of it, gun shows do what they got to make their dollars back.
Right.
You understand, when somebody gets a booth at a gun show, they got to pay X amount of dollars to get their booth. So they can care less on who they sell a gun to, because they try to make their money back.
That's right.
Because the background check, what are they looking for the background check? That's what I'm curious about.
I really don't. I guess basically to check to see if you have a history of weapon charges or something of that nature.
But not mental. But not they don't look. They can't see mental stuff in your background.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe they can.
Yeah.
And if but here's the thing. In our society as a whole, mental illness is a big thing.
Correct.
So you would eliminate a lot of people being able to own weapons if it was if mental illness was considered as a prerequisite of being able to own a gun.
Correct.
But it also, I think that you have a lot of, I'm going to go ahead and say it, you have a lot of folks who are unstable or have mental illness that serve in law enforcement. So if we're going to ask for mental illness for a background check when it comes to being a gun owner, then you should probably, because they operate, law enforcement operates with handguns and rifles and shotguns and whatnot, they need to be checked as well. Because that is, that should definitely be a prerequisite. If it, they're still operating a weapon.
Correct. So let's fast forward real quick. We do like 15-minute shows. The punishment. Like, I know at once upon a time, if you was caught with a gun that you weren't supposed to have, you got 10. They called it 10 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
So you was guaranteed to do 10 to 20 years in prison if you had a gun without a license. So what do you think the punishment is? Do you think we're too lenient? The laws, the government is too lenient on the government? On the gun laws. If you get pulled over with a gun, it's like more of a slap on the hand type deal. You know what I'm saying?
Well, okay. If you're legal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, based on that, well, you can't really get, it shouldn't be a problem for you carrying what you have. It's registered to you, it's in your name, and you are you're legally allowed to carry it. You did all the necessary paperwork, and you should be able to carry it. Those who are, for lack of a better word, dirty, is it too lenient if they get charged with it? Well, you got to do it. I think basically you got to do it. If you're gonna take it from them, take it from them. Now, if you're gonna charge them with it, that seems like a gray area to me, because they could just be for self-protection at the end of the day, or a hunting rifle. If it's, the NRA say that it's, they use AKs to hunt. That's what I remember a few years ago.
So you need an AK that kill Bambi. You need an AK.
That's what, but we know it's a load. We know it's a load, but a diaper load. But at the end of the day, that's how they were able to get around it.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Hunting. So if it works for you, it could work for me.
So real quick, man, to sum everything up today, we're talking about gun control. We are noticing every time it's something violent going on in the world, we notice that somebody always has a mental, comes with a mental challenge. Like somebody always doing something crazy, and you come to find out they got a mental illness. So I think, from my perspective, I think gun control needs to be more detailed. You need to check more thoroughly the person that's getting it, and more of an intense background checks need to be taken care of.
I would agree. You need to definitely make it a more stringent and intensified background check, particularly when it comes to mental illness.
You know what's so crazy real quick? To get a job, it take a week for a background check to come back. To get a job.
Right.
But to get a gun at a gun show, it take 20 minutes.
Right. Now how insane is that?
That's crazy to me.
Right. So and you have the right to bear arms. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But let's, if you know this person is mentally ill, they still have the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
But do we, there's that gray area as to whether or not they should.
Yeah, but like you said,
they have the right to.
Yeah, like you said, they got a
but
right.
should they?
So a gun is a gun, basically. If the type of gun, people like to question the type of gun. Like somebody with a mental illness can do just as much damage with a 9 Glock than they can with an AR.
Agreed.
They still can kill somebody.
That's right.
So I think stipulations need to be more put in place. Ages, like I think a kid can get a gun at 19, but he can't drink a beer till he's 21.
Right.
That just
Right.
It's just
Right.
backwards to me.
I agree.
So-
I agree. There should be an age limit. Now, now you and I both have boy children.
Correct.
So for us as fathers, teaching our sons how to
Survive.
how to hunt, taking them to the firing range, all that kind of stuff. Yes, you teach them proper gun etiquette. Now, with that being said, do we, as a parent, do we allow them to have access to the gun freely?
Well,
Do we purchase that gun for them freely?
well, it's two sides of that. I got a friend of mine. He's known for hunting,
Mm-hmm.
but he do deer hunting. But he teaches kids how to shoot rifles, so they're allowed to shoot guns when they're with him, when they go hunting with him, just like you take your son fishing.
Right.
This particular case, he take them hunting, so they 7, 10, 12, and they know how to shoot a rifle. But can they go to the case at home and grab the rifle without permission? No.
Right.
So his teaching is just strictly for hunting. On the flip side of that, you may have on the other side of town or somewhere else, kids know how to go to under their pillow, underneath the bed, and grab the gun. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Now to answer your question, at 18, when they're at the house, they're at the house. Period. Ain't nothing we can do. I just try to teach my boys, if you gotta go somewhere, you gotta carry your gun, then you don't need to be there.
Right.
Period. I'm not saying don't have it for your protection, but if you gotta go somewhere where you gotta put it in your pocket, your back pocket, and walk around that particular area, you don't need to be there. Period.
Even so, if you holster on your hip, shoulder holster, whatever, it's the environment and where and the places that you go.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
But see, I also noticed too, though, if the little runners I had in my past, because they didn't know I had a weapon, it never escalated. It was just words.
Right.
But if somebody knows you got a gun and they want to step to you, now they see a gun. So they're going to make sure they have a gun because, you, like they say, you can't take a knife to a gunfight.
That's right.
So I think a lot of times when people see the guns and have altercations, that's when stuff happens because they know they got it. You know what I'm saying? Versus not knowing you got a gun, as you talk about it, throw hands,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I'm saying, or just let it go. So I think that the sight of a gun triggers a lot of stuff that's happening in the world.
Number one, it could be a deterrent. But
Mhm.
number two, there's always going to be somebody that wants to challenge you.
Correct.
Challenge you as a man, gun to gun. And, you know, at the end of the day, I was always taught you don't pull it unless you
gonna
plan to use it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
So,
See, they don't understand that because nowadays they take it out to show off. Now you put yourself, your family, everybody in harm's way because you want to show and tell with your gun.
well, but see, that's why when you open carry and you got it on your hip and people can see it, and there's a good chance people are not going to. It's kind of, well, I want to say 75-25 because 75% of the time people aren't going to mess with you, but then there's that 25% that are going to challenge you. But that only depends on where you are. You know, if you in the shopping mall, is somebody going to challenge you? No, probably not.
Mm-mm.
But if you at a party, there's liquor flowing at a
Correct.
club,
They
there's
get
liquor
used.
flowing,
They
then they
get
might.
used. Yeah.
You know, and you know at that point you need to know how to throw them hands.
Correct. And we not doing
And
that
see,
no more.
that should be first and foremost. Self-protection. You need to be able to you need to be able to throw hands first.
Correct.
As a man, as a boy, you and I growing up, man, one of the first things we learned how to do was slap box.
Correct.
Whether it was in the house or, you know, in the
That's right.
backyard
That's
with
right,
the
yeah.
rest of the neighborhood or
Yeah.
on the street.
Correct.
Slap boxing was the thing.
Correct.
But it taught us how to learn, it taught us the skill set and how to throw hands.
It's until how to take a loss.
And man, And that's
we
part
took losses and we didn't go to the car and come back.
right.
we hugged-
You just take the loss.
we
We'll
hugged-
see you again tomorrow.
Yeah, we hugged it out, man, bro. You know, it was a good one. You know what I'm saying? A lot of, I think it's a generation thing, personally. I think it's a generational thing. It's more of a pride thing. A lot of folks can't take getting whooped and be done with it. You're gonna get whooped and want to come back and spray somebody's house up and, you know, do stuff that's not called for. But in that closing, man, I appreciate you coming in and give your perspective and your how you feel about gun control.
Yes, sir.
And we'll touch base with this probably at a later date. So just tell everybody, you know, stay tuned for tomorrow's show. 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, you heard him. Stay tuned for tomorrow's show. Well, I don't know what the topic is going to be.
Freestyle, baby.
But it's definitely going to be one that you don't want to miss. If you're interested and enjoy our topics, thank you for tuning in. And of course, we always would love your feedback and comments on the platforms that we use, that we go out to. Feel free to make a statement or ask a question. We'll check it out and be able to get back to you with an answer. Thank you again for tuning in to Push Talk. Have a wonderful